This is Mateo. Um, so I'm just going to go over the GitHub Wiki documentation for our company. So this is for our entrepreneur and ethics submission, and this is for Group 11. Here's our names. All right, I'm going to item 1. Um, Company name, so my logins. And this is a subtitle. So local and secure utility solution. So that gives you a vague idea what this is going to be about. And then actually, I'm not going to read verbatim here. I'm just going to give a brief summary for the sake of time. So you can pause if you want to read the whole thing. But yeah, the goal of the company, so My Logins, is to essentially offer a security platform. So we're going to store user data and login information. But it's going to be through local secure storage. So that's the main difference between us and other platforms. The storage of data is going to be secure. And I'll go a little over that later, just how we're going to realize that goal. But yeah, this is also an open source platform. And then we are also prioritizing privacy, but also making sure that we're federally compliant with laws. Not just federally, but also in terms of like state and federal legislation. Um, and then another major goal of this platform is that it's going to be fully platform independent. So meaning it's going to be cross-platform and portable to a wide array of machines and our different users. So yeah, this is the major reason why, being that we want to expand to enterprises, so businesses. Just to give a brief context, I came up with this idea because I wrote a command line utility similar to the functionality described. Um, so I guess you could say this is like a hypothetical manifestation of a business that came from this idea. So just a little cool information about that. Purposes, values, and mission. So this is an open source platform, and the main reason being uh, ensures transparency. And I'll go over that a little bit later, but we're going to ensure that a diverse group of users can safely store login credentials. And we're giving full control to the user because one of the platform's major goals, as stated before, is privacy. Um, so yeah, privacy is the major concern here, and then also this is also going to be fully transparent, so that allows for transparency. And then we're also going to make this primarily community-driven development because it is open source. So sorry, just 1 second. Sorry. So yeah, and then also we're going to be using encryption and bug fixes as the main medium for growth. And yeah, so that's just a little bit about the platform's purpose. So just to give some key questions that I'll answer in a bit. How do we make startup more accessible for stakeholders? And how can my logins protect the privacy of the users? I'll answer that in a bit. But just going over the OKRs real quick. So the first one is platform independence and portability, written by Alexi and Stephanie. So yeah, the company's goal, or one of the major goals at least, is platform independence. So we set a tangible goal of deploying to Android and iOS by the fiscal second quarter of 2025, whilst also ensuring functionality. And then also the reason why this is important is just because we're trying to reach as many users as possible for the sake of growth, and we feel that mobile devices are like a huge chunk of this user base that's potentially going to use this platform. So yeah, that's a little bit why. And then also some of the metrics we can use to measure the success of the goal. When measuring the number of iOS and Android deployments, we can use the metrics provided by the Google and Apple Store. And what they're going to do what they essentially do is they give you the amount of downloads for your app. Um, so that's a useful metric in determining how popular your app slash platform is becoming. And then we also set a goal of 10,000 by the end of the first month. We can also look at the internal data. So we can just see how many daily users are active to see how satisfaction is, and also actual app store ratings are a good metric for success. So 80% is what we specified here. And then just to give some ethical issues, just to give a bit of a brief context about this court case in particular, so ACLU versus Clearview AI, sorry. Um, this court case dealt with um, Clearview AI was a startup, and then they were held liable because they were collecting user data and information without consent, which violated Illinois state legislation. Um, so yeah, that's just an example of a case where this could be applied. Um, so the issue at hand is collecting user data and not getting consent. So that is a major issue because yeah, that would result in legal litigation. But as such, we need to have how it's described here, 8 airtight policies that are compliant with data laws. And this is just a brief risk analysis table of the various stakeholders and the various types of associated risk. Um, yeah, I'm not going to go over this part for the sake of time, but um, yeah, this is just considering the different stakeholders at hand, um, how at risk they are for the various types of risk. Yeah, just to give a brief comparison. And then a safeguard we put into place for this specifically is beta testing. So we're going to be using beta testing for iOS and Android to get user feedback to not only minimize our viewpoint because we are biased, so we had to consider that, but also we can also just get guidance on how to make the platform better, so also more inclusive. Um, and in that case, we can also better handle our user data, and also make sure we're compliant with laws surrounding that. And then, yeah, we also have to get consent. So that's a major safeguard we put in place. And also, just to make note of this, we're not going to be using this data anyway. We're not going to be selling. And then also, we can consult lawyers for better guidance. Moving on to the second objective, so privacy, and I feel like this is the core of the platform. But yeah, so the major goal of the platform is to ensure privacy and security. And the way we're going to do this is mainly through local storage. So we're not going to be we're not going to be storing on the cloud or online. We're going to be using local user storage, and then we're also going to be using encryption as another layer of protection. Um, and yeah, this is in keeping in mind that we're going to be using this to protect from malicious third parties. And also, we have to consider that given the differences in both our consumer base and our enterprise user base, um, there's going to be different levels of security, or sorry, different levels of protection when considering the differences in these clients. But and this also a user facing, um, excuse me, this is a consumer facing platform, but we also have given significant protections to enterprises because we think this should be available for all entities. And then also, yeah. Um, so regarding the issues, um, yeah, so there is always like the issue of either mishandling of information and also data breaches. Um, because we also, yeah, so again, we are using local device storage as opposed to like a larger centralized database because we find that that's using or that's sorry misusing data from our users. So that is um, the reason why we prioritize local storage. Um, but the issue with that is that if data loads are bigger, it might make it impractical. Um, and also we have to consider licensing because we are an open source we are an open source company, but we have to make profit considering our product. Uh, so pricing is another issue. And so a safeguard we've put into place for this specifically is, um, yeah. So considering our larger business enterprise clients, so the main issue, considering that I went over, um, we've implemented that there be secure servers or databases that are specific to a client. Excuse me, sorry. And then we're gonna encrypt those data sets and give some network protections to them. Um, yeah, so that is a major, yeah, that is one of the major safeguards we put. And then it got cut off here, but in regards to pricing, there's going to be a consumer. So the consumer, sorry, the consumer version will be free. But the enterprise version of this platform is going to be paid. Um, so it's going to ensure that individual users are able to protect their data, but we're also going to not neglect the need for um, pricing because it is, as a company, we have to look out for that. Um, and there'll also be various price models that will implement. Yeah. And then open source. So the third OKR. Um, so we're going to operate as an open source company. So we're going to have our users be able to distribute or modify this to their content. Um, and yeah, we're also going to be improving the documentation surrounding this. Um, and then the main drive behind that is just because uh, it helps with development, so fixing bugs and finding new ways or better ways to do what we're doing. Um, and yeah, there's going to be online forums and mailing lists. Um, so similar to the Linux kernel, how they handle open source development. Yeah, it's going to be um, something that we're going to implement. And then also in the next 6 months, we'll be able to track 50 new active contributors. So to measure metrics for this specifically, we would need to know how many contributors we get each quarter. So that the main way to do that is monitoring GitHub activity. And then one of the issues surrounding this is that regarding bugs and how they're exposed, some people take advantage of bugs, unfortunately, to get access to information. And since this is an offline platform, it still poses a risk even though it is offline. So yeah, here's yeah. So vulnerabilities are gonna become public, but and yeah, that's the issue ahead here. But yeah, the goal is to patch these bugs before vulnerabilities arise. And then here's a risk assessment table. I'm not gonna go over that. But yeah, a safeguard in this case is to mitigate the risks. Um, so yeah, we're going to ensure that our algorithm for encryption is strong. So that's going to ensure a level of privacy that our users can have. So encryption will ensure that their data will be held securely, even if there are bugs. Um, and then we're also going to, yeah, so that's going to mitigate the security risks of data breaches. And then also, yeah, so we're going to also involve experts that have ethics backgrounds. And these are going to be hired through the open source community or internally. And they're just going to measure the effectiveness of testing and also like how we can get metrics regarding the actual system that is in place. All right, so item 2, just to go over this briefly. So just let me. I'm just gonna read this. Given the core values, what are the details of the core company? Okay, so at My Logins, we value security, collaboration, transparency, and privacy. Sorry about the delay. We strive to be thought of as a company that focuses on user data's security. The privacy of our users is one of the most important aspects, and we believe that all users have the right to secure and conduct their private digital interactions without fear of data breaches. Our developers continuously work on improving technologies for local storage and data encryption that will allow for a seamless experience. As a company that is driven by an open source community, collaboration is the big driving force that promotes the growth of our company. We welcome contributions from diverse backgrounds to promote innovation and avoid bias. Developers and users are encouraged to review and examine existing code to find any bugs to report and fix it. We are motivated to create a user-friendly experience for accessing digital information, providing our users data security and control over the data. And then just to give some of the motivations, our community grows through contributions to the open source environment, bringing new perspectives and views, thus creating new features related to data storage and security. We enjoy solving real-world problems, which fuels our passion. Ultimately, we want to create software tools and technologies that ensure that our users feel digitally secure with maximum privacy. On the other hand, we fear that there are some risks and potential vulnerabilities related to compromising users' data. We realize that commitment to security comes with potential risks. In the past years, data breaches have become more common. This awareness drives our focus to work and continuously improve our digital products through implementation of the latest encryption technology, with additional rigorous testing by hiring external teams to perform penetration testing. We provide we prioritize ethical safeguards and the interests of our users, which makes our company widely popular and trusted by millions of users. And then just to give a summary, these are the 6 points. 5 points. Collaboration through open source, openness, inclusivity, transparency, and security. All right, and then just to go quickly over item 3. Um, sorry. So our principles. We understand that in this modern day and age, it can be quite difficult to keep track of all your various passwords and login information, but by using a data storage software comes with questions that must be clearly and thoughtfully addressed. Our principles will demonstrate our commitment to keeping you and your data safe and secure. So the objectives: be socially beneficial. Um, so My Login strives to protect our stakeholders' information while respecting the client's privacy, but not storing the data to a third-party server, but instead making it so that all data will be stored locally on the client system. We will continue to maintain our services and ensure that we work to benefit as many people as we can. Be built and tested for safety. We will continue to apply strong security practices to better protect the information that people have entrusted to our software. Our software, being a local storage, will be designed to keep your passwords safe and accessible to those who may use your devices without your knowledge. Incorporate privacy design principles. We will incorporate our privacy principles in the development of our password protecting software. We'll be transparent in how your data is stored and develop the software with privacy safeguards in mind. All right. And then upholding high standards for protection. We understand that people are taking a huge risk by trusting their data to a software that isn't created by a big name company. We aspire to high standards for data protection, and we work on making sure that My Logins can be the software that everyone trusts to protect their information. It will be transparent with how software works and how data will be stored so that stakeholders can rest easy knowing that this information is safe with My Logins. Okay, so that was quickly the core items, and now just to go over the last part of the board. So our first member includes Julie Brill. She's currently the Chief Privacy Officer at Microsoft and has also served as Commissioner of the FTC. Julie has extensive work in the protection of consumer privacy at the FTC, and also a background of enhancing privacy protection at Microsoft. Her background being at the intersection of cybersecurity and privacy is directly in the sector of My Logins. And then, that's why we think she makes her a natural fit. Second prospective board member would be Guido van Rossum, so the creator of Python. um, yeah, so the creator of Python, also an engineer at Microsoft, and then he also believes that Python, being open source, directly aligns with the values that we hold at MyLogin. Um, so yeah, that's also uh, a perspective on ethics that we'd love to have. And then Bruce Schneier, a recognized security technologist and cybersecurity author. He authored over a dozen books on privacy and cybersecurity, and also he has a knowledge of cryptography, so that's always helpful for the platform. Okay, and then here's our references, and yeah, so that's it. And thank y'all for watching. Bye. That was her.